Om Swastiastu, Asanteng Raja. Oh, Monster High, what a wonderful series you were. In case your childhood wasn't full of freaky fabulous whimsy, Monster High was a series made by Mattel about the children of famous monsters, cryptids, and other creature features going to a school called, well, Monster High. You have your horror icons like the daughters of the werewolf, Frankenstein's monster, and Dracula, and even more niche ones like the Noperabo of Japanese mythology, and the Grim Reaper out of all things.
Is that the Grim Reaper?
Monster High had their first generation run from 2010 and 2015, and those years they had banger after banger releases, let me tell you that. It opened up a market for alt-leaning fashion dolls bundled with a wonderful message of loving your freaky flaws and all. However, like a lot of good things, it had a very painful dip in quality circa late 2015. Their dolls just weren't hitting as much as they used to, and their quality, high-key, kinda suffered because of it. And amongst those newer releases was Isi Dawndancer, Monster High's first and only US Native American character. And to say that she is controversial would be an accurate descriptor. Now, I originally planned for this video to be me redesigning all the ghouls from their Brambu student line because they were the last original characters done for Gen 1 before Gen 2 came in and spat out whatever Gen 2 was. But the moment I sat down and looked at Isi specifically, the more I realized that this particular ghoul needed her own video. So here we are, chat. Today I'm going to sit y'all down and show you the lengths I went to in order to redesign and rewrite Monster High's most controversial ghoul, Isi Dawndancer, daughter of a deer spirit. Disclaimer! I am not Native American. In fact, I'm not even from the goddamn continent. I am simply a Southeast Asian girly, trying her best and using this as an opportunity to practice my research, character design, and writing skills. If I make any mistakes in this video, it is not done with malice. I am just an idiot. Thankfully, I had some help from my partner for this video's research. Almost everything I know about Native American history comes from him directly, and he is very dedicated to this, and I am very grateful for his help. Thank you, Jay. So let's start from square one. Who is Isi, and what the hell was going on in Mattel when they designed her? Let's take a look. Going through her page on the Monster High fandom wiki, I gathered that she is 1. Very proud of her native heritage, loves dancing, traditional dancing specifically, has the power to see visions, places big importance to her family and her rituals, and loves sharing her heritage with other Monster High students. Which is all very sweet, albeit kind of token, but then again she was made like 10 years ago. It's very obvious to me that Mattel just didn't do enough research before making her character, if any, because this was the mood board done for Isi's concept art. It's giving Coachella. It's giving something. Oh my god, that bag. The amount of dream catchers she is wearing is genuinely concerning, girl. Now we could sit here and make fun of how badly stereotypical Isi's design is, but back in the day, it was really hard to find representation of any marginalized groups in the doll world. Barbie only started releasing dolls with different skin tones and body types for their fashionista line in 2016, for God's sake. Monster High releasing a canonically Native American character was huge. And I can imagine for a lot of young indigenous girls back in 2015, this was amazing to see. That being said, I think we could all agree that Mattel could have done better. But that's what I'm here to do. So let's dive into the rabbit hole and figure out what flavor of indigenous she's actually supposed to be. So both in her wiki page and in the show, it's mentioned in Frankie's narration that she's from New Mexico. Well, technically Boo Hexico, but monster puns. Frankie isn't being an unreliable narrator here either. The background elements in this shot where we see her family is very indicative of New Mexico. The Pueblo buildings, the desert, the Rocky Mountains, all very New Mexico. However, Isi isn't based on any New Mexican tribe. Let me explain. Both Isi's name and the mythological figure of the deer woman she's based on are of the Choctaw people. Yes, the same people who were the vampire hunters from Sinners who tried telling the clansmen not to fuck around and find out, then proceeding to step back and watch them fuck around and find out. God, I love this movie. Yeah, horror movie survival tip for y'all. When a native person from any land tells you not to do something, you don't do it. Anyway, back to Isi. So, from my research, aka scrolling through the Monster High Wikipedia page, software-wise, Isi is meant to be Choctaw. The Choctaw are a Native American group who originated from the southeastern United States, more specifically the area that now makes up modern-day Mississippi and a little bit of Louisiana and Alabama, which is very distinctively not New Mexico. Now, I say that's where they originated from, but in the present day, the Choctaw Nation, along with a lot of Native American people, are located in Oklahoma State. And that's because of one thing. The Trail of Tears. Now, since I am the one writing the script, I'm going to be grossly oversimplifying what happened during this time in American history because I am unfortunately not intelligent enough to tell you the full details of what happened, so I will once again try my best, and I promise this is relevant to Isi. Okay, honey, educate the masses.
Back in the mid-1800s, the Trail of Tears was the forced relocation and removal of over 60,000 Native Americans throughout 1830 to 1850 by the United States government, signed off by President Andrew Jackson.
This guy right here, he's an asshole and a racist. Remember that.
The forced relocation was targeted to 5 of the Southeast's biggest tribes, being the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Muskogee, more widely known as the Creek, the Seminole, and of course, the Choctaw, who were dubbed the 5 Civilized Tribes, many of which lost thousands of their men, women, and children in the 5,000-mile trek across the Mississippi, many dying to exposure, disease, and murdered by the white American settlers who decided the stolen land they now live on from beneath the feet of the natives was rightfully theirs.
A lot of Native American history is unfortunately stained in blood. Native blood. And I wanted to incorporate the knowledge I have about this part of history into Isi's character because, like a lot of Native families, I think Isi would hold this part of her heritage very deep in her heart. Which I'll explain after I show you the changes I've done to her design. So, starting from the ground up, I decided to change Isi's tribe. She's still going to be Choctaw, lineage-wise, don't worry about that, but since so many people have already reimagined her as such, I wanted to see if I could go into a different direction. If I were to design her exactly how she is portrayed in the show, alone, without looking up anything on the wiki page, what would she look like? After some consideration, I decided to make her Zuni, one of New Mexico's many Pueblo tribes. With that, Jay also decided to give her a new name, with Isi being her middle name instead. What you got for me, honey?
Udeliana, meaning bluebell flower. And if anyone is Zuni in the comments, please tell us if we're pronouncing this wrong. There's literally no pronunciation guide that we could find on this. And the only way I think I know how is because I already know the Zuni word for flower is Udayan.
I'm gonna be addressing her as Isi for consistency in this video, but for the record, her name is now Udeliana Isi Dawndancer, descendant of the Deer Woman. Right off the bat, I wanted to keep Isi's Hatsune Miku teal hair for one reason. Turquoise. In case you don't know, the southwestern United States is essentially oops all turquoise mine, so I wanted to keep Isi's hair that color. I also just think it's a good challenge for me personally to not touch the base colors of the doll, except her face makeup, but we don't talk about that. I'm trying to design her with Gen 3 design conventions in mind. I might be in the minority here, but Gen 3 side character designs? Low-key kinda slap, low-key slap, high-key slap in fact. Case in point, Venus. Case in point, Spectra. Case in point, Skelita goddamn calaveras. And I wanted that vibe for Isi. Deciding on an aesthetic for her to start off the design process was low-key difficult because the girl literally has no personality outside of being native. Which is a problem because if you make a character to represent a marginalized group but neglect to give them any other interest outside of their identity, you're kinda setting yourself up for accidental stereotyping. Okay, since Isi likes dancing, I'm gonna also assume that she likes music by default. You can't boogie without a little beat, you know? I'd like to think that she loves very bold and expressive movements because it allows her to use her whole body to its full capacity. I had some trouble trying to decide what band Isi would be into, but then I remembered that fucking Cat's Eye is canon! I think Isi would absolutely adore the thought of an international girl group from all over the world from different cultures, and it gave her the idea/dream that maybe one day she could do that. Maybe one day she could incorporate her native heritage into her art form and share it with millions all over the globe. And guess what? That might as well just be the case because she just got a scholarship to attend the best school in the monster world, baby! I had the idea the way that Isi got into Monster High was because of her grandmother. Isi is a very bright and talented young girl. Her parents work out of state to provide for their family, so she was primarily raised by her grandmother, Granny Fauna. She sees just how much potential her little girl has and decided to enroll her into Monster High's brand new student scholarship program. Isi applied, not thinking much of it, but to her actual shock, she got in. She was both very excited and also very scared. She doesn't want to leave her family behind, she loves them so much. What if something happens and she's not there to help? New Salem is so far away after all, but her grandmother assures her that she'll be well taken care of. People on the res are like family to her. They'll make sure her granny and the rest of their family are well taken care of. So, with a heavy heart, Isi packs up her things, goes off to Monster High to see what life has to offer. And it was at Monster High she found herself connecting with an old distant family member. Very distant, actually. Her great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, the one and only Dear Woman. Isi was shocked, to say the very least. She knew her mother's side of the family were of Choctaw descent. Her middle name is Choctaw, for heaven's sake. She grew up hearing stories of how far their ancestors were driven further west during the Trail of Tears, in comparison to the normies who settled in Oklahoma, settling down in Buhexico alongside the Zuni. They've been so far removed from that side of their heritage, but here she was, here to watch over not only her, but all the young ghouls at Monster High. Alright, so in the episode, Isi has the power to see visions. Very tropey, very monolithic, I think we can all agree on that, but I thought about removing this part of Isi's character, but not gonna lie, I kinda like it. But I'm thinking, like changing it a little bit. Instead of just seeing visions, I'm thinking she just has straight up encounters. Kinda like, okay, you know how in Res Dogs whenever a bear gets knocked out or stumped with something, he has an encounter with
William Knife Man.
Kinda like that. Since Isi is such a long ways from home and is absolutely in over her head from the homesickness and the culture shock of going to a school as big as Monster High, she gets a little bit of help from her how many ever times, great-granny, who, for the sake of seeming more friendly to her very overwhelmed great-great-grandchild, takes the form of an actual doe. Just the thought of a teenager trying to figure herself out, and every so often she gets some help or a prophetic dream from her old great-great-great-grandmother Dear Woman who tries her best to be supportive, and she is. She's just very old, so she doesn't really get it, but she's helpful. I just think it's really sweet. They try their best.
Biali everyone. As Kemi introduced near the beginning, I'm Jay. I go by a lot of names, most others my friends use. As she most likely mentioned near the beginning, I'm mixed native, Afro-Indigenous, both from above and below the border. There are a few tribes in my family, but the main ones that I'll highlight are Cherokee, Seminole, Lakota, and Guerrero Nawa. I wanted to take the time out of this video with Kemi's permission, thanks babe, to bring notice and awareness to the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Foundations. Many of us natives, especially women and children, are susceptible to being abducted on top of many other forms of horrid acts for many reasons. One of the big ones is the fact that many of us are seen as either uncared for or frankly just invisible in the eyes of the US government. And as a result of this, there are far, far too many stories about Indigenous women, children, men, and anyone in between who has been taken or had something horrible done to them as a result. So, in the description, we'll leave 4 links to important Native American protection and care foundations in the US, in addition to the link to the Native American Rights Fund. Obviously, any form of donation to these foundations would be greatly appreciated, but we also leave these links here so that anybody can properly educate themselves on Native matters in the US and our Indigenous communities so that we can better keep our communities safe and hopefully find our missing brothers, sisters, and siblings. And to all my Native brothers and sisters out there who may be watching this video, aho mitakuya oyasin, do what you can to protect each other and stay safe.
I went through so many iterations for Isi because your girl is in a goddamn design rut, but I am happy to report that this is her final design. Her silhouette is very much inspired by Lara's doll because goddamn do I think Isi would be such a big fan of hers, with absolutely no bias from me or Jay whatsoever. I kept her antler headpiece because I just really love the idea of Isi, despite being a doe, loves wearing them to express her very fluid relationship with her gender identity. I just think it's neat. And all the bracelets in the world because she likes to make noise pollution wherever she walks. Her overall palette is based off of this particular outfit. A lot of black with her bright blue hair being the primary accent color and a sprinkle of pink just for a pop of contrast. The hem pattern on her tank top, the floral print on her pants, necklace, and the pattern on her belt are all inspired by Zuni oil maidens. while the half diamond pattern represents the mountains and valleys of her ancestors' homelands. She is unfortunately too broke for genuine cat's eye merch, but she does have a parody hallucination shirt she got as a hand-me-down from her older cousin. And literally the only reason why it's there is 1, fucking res dogs, and 2, Jay insisted it stayed in the design.
Look, I'm sorry. The pun was just too good. You even went as far as to draw the seal.
Production for this video took longer than I thought. I may have been overthinking too much during her design process because I wanted to be as respectful as I could with her, but that ultimately led me to being scared and stuck in over my head. But I reminded myself that I'm here in this video to try my best and to show a design that I'm happy about. And safe to say, I'm very happy about how she turned out, and I hope you all like it too. This video definitely put my brain to work, and I'm gonna let it rest for a little bit, and I'll let you watch the rest of the speed paint now. I'll see you in the end card. Thank you so much to all of you for watching. Thank you to my Ko-Fi members for your support. If you want to get early access to everything I post alongside scans of my sketchbooks and a bunch of other stuff, you can become a member for only $2 a month. Thank you to everybody for your beautiful, amazing fan art, and I'll see y'all in the next video, whenever the hell that may be. Cheers!